All right. Yesterday we learned the steps for calculating the empirical formula. Today we're going to find the steps for calculating the molecular formula. And so our first steps, as we do these problems, we can either start you with percents, then you'll be working the whole thing. We could start you with grams, and then you just start here, and you work the whole thing. Or we could even start you with empirical formula, and then you would work your way down. So these are the steps for calculating the molecular formula now. So I'm just going to put a little line there to let us know that we are now moving into the molecular formula. So step 5 is going to be to take the molecular formula mass divided by the empirical formula mass. Now, where do you get these numbers from? The molecular formula mass will always be given to you in the equation. So write given next to that. That's always going to be given. The empirical formula mass, you're just going to take the empirical formula and add it up like you've always been doing. You're just going to take the empirical formula and just add it up like we've been doing to find the molar mass. Okay? So we're going to take the two formulas and we'll divide those two masses. The answer we get, so I'm going to put the answer from number 5, you're going to multiply that by the empirical formula. Multiply that by the empirical formula. So those are the only two steps we do. And again, sometimes we may just give you the empirical formula and say, work here. And you're just going to take its mass, which is always given, divide it by its empirical formula mass. And then you're going to take that answer, multiply it by the empirical formula. All right, well, let's see what I mean by looking at a problem here. These were the problems we were working yesterday. And so notice that we calculated the molecular formula. We calculated the empirical formula. So here's our empirical formula. So now we're going to calculate the molecular formula by doing steps 5 and step 6. Okay? So step 5 says take the molecular formula mass. I'm going to just put a number 5 here to know we're doing step 5. Take the molecular formula mass. I said it's always given, and here it is. Molecular formula mass given, 90 grams. Divided by the the empirical formula mass. So here's our empirical formula. All we do is add it up now. We know carbon is 12. We know our hydrogen is 1. And oxygen is going to be 16 plus 16 is 32. So we add that up. We're going to get our 5 here. And our 45 there. So this is our empirical formula mass is 45 grams. So the step we're doing here, we're really just seeing how much bigger is the molecular formula than the empirical formula. So we see for this one that it is 2 times bigger. So if the molecular formula is 2 times bigger than the empirical formula, that must mean we have to take our 2 times our empirical formula, which is CHO2. So that means it's just going to be twice as big. So it means our molecular formula is going to be C2H2O4. And so again, what we're doing is we're just taking our molecular formula mass, which is always given, divide it by our empirical formula mass. What we're really doing is just seeing how much bigger is the molecular formula. What's twice as big? So if it's twice as big, we multiply it through. And so our final answer is C2H2O4. Right? So let's work another example here for you to see. Down here we calculated our empirical formula to be this, this, and this. So now what we do is calculate our molecular formula. Our molecular formula is, again, we're going to start at step 5. We could have started you here and you had to work all through here, but now step 5 is to take our molecular formula mass, which is always given, and there it is, 176. And we're going to divide it by our empirical formula mass, which we know carbon is 12, so that's going to be 24, and that's going to be 4, and that is going to be 16. So when we add this up, we're going to get our 44 grams. Put my gram there. Okay, so we're really seeing how much bigger it is, so we're going to put our 44 here. So when we divide that, we see that it is going to be 4 times bigger. Well, if it's 4 times bigger, we take our 4 times our C2H4O1, and that will give us our C8H16O4. So C8H16O4 being 4 times bigger. Alright, I'll have you work the last problem and then I will come back and see if you have the correct answer to that.